Hi! Today I'm going to share with you one of my favourite techniques. It's a technique I often use in my workshops, and it's something that I tend to recommend for people who maybe just want some maintenance day to day and some feel good. And it's something that I implement into most of my days whenever I can get a chance, because I am into luxury feelings whenever you can get them. So for this you're going to need 2 tennis balls, which you can get from anywhere. These are just like a cheap sport shop. You can get like 3 for £1 or something, or in Norway I think they're also quite cheap if you're watching this in Norway or somewhere else in the world, I don't know. And the next thing you'll need is a sock. This is not used, well it is used actually because I've been using this, but yeah, just a sock. And what you're going to do is thread in your tennis balls into your sock. Maybe you like it used, I don't know, it's like personal preference. Push your 2 balls all the way to the end of your sock. You can make a little knot in the sock if you feel like it. I tend to not bother because, you know, I'm into ease wherever possible. And with these 2 tennis balls, you'll just take your index finger and thumb and then just give the balls a little squeeze in between, so you create a little bit of space. And we're going to use this as a little massage tool for the back, and actually you can use it anywhere in the body. So we're going to start with the back, and you're going to place the balls just towards the top of the back but beneath the neck. It's really down to personal preference, but I would say here to really try and avoid your actual spine. You want the balls to be either side of the spine, because it just doesn't feel great when you're ironing out creases in the spine. It's not really going to be beneficial to anyone. So we're going to move on to the floor. However, you can do this against a wall if it feels a bit tender. So if you find lying on the floor rolling on balls is just way too intense, take it to a wall and then kind of roll up and down a wall. Anyway, I'm going to show you the floor version because that's my favourite, and I like it kind of like a spicy meat ball. Anyway, come with me. Place your balls on the floor, and then ease yourself down to find the sweet spot. Yeah, that's nice. And you can hold onto your head here as you start to drop, or rather than drop, let's ease the body down into the balls like you're kind of a piece of plasticine or Play-Doh, and you're just oozing yourself down into the prop. Take a couple of breaths there, and maybe you immediately find the sweet spot and you can just hang out there as you like. Oh, so good. I'm now resting my head on the floor, dropping my elbows back. It's quite a nice feeling. If you feel like adding a little bit of extra spice, you can release your hands, make sure the head's rested, and then explore reaching the arms up into the air. And maybe that changes the position of the massage. And you can also start to switch it up a bit by moving the arms around. This is kind of like my 60s dance. Maybe it's, yeah, not so accurate. And then maybe let yourself freestyle. You can bend the elbows and do all kinds of weird stuff. Essentially, there's no right or wrong way to do this as long as it feels good for your body. So at the moment I'm crossing one arm over the other. That's pretty nice, especially if you tend to carry a lot of tension in that region. So many of us do, and if you sit at a computer all day, this is likely to feel really good. And you can add even more layers to this as you go, so if you feel like keeping the arms moving, you can do. One thing that feels quite nice for me is to support my head and lift my head back up again. You can let the elbows fall out, but then use the pressure through your feet to gently start to roll the balls down your back. Oh yeah, that's pretty good. So you're just massaging a little further down the spine, coming towards the thoracic spine. This is really good. As you roll, you might come across areas that just feel good to hang out in, and there's a sweet spot right there. So you can experiment with that, maybe let the head go, you can add the arms, perhaps roll a bit from side to side, get in there. And essentially make this your own feel-good massage. If you want to keep rolling, picking up the head, so just try not to let any tension come into the neck. So supporting the head with your arms. I'm going to roll a little bit lower down. Feels pretty good. And I'm going to roll onto one side here, push myself up. Nice. And you can take the balls a bit further down. Quite a nice little movement is to find this area around the outer hip, place the balls down, and then lift up the bum. Just gently rest yourself on there, rolling around a bit. This is a good one if you've been doing a lot of hiking, cycling, maybe skiing. This can be a nice one around the outer glutes. And just try and remember to breathe as you go. And you can make it as dramatic as you like, especially if someone is watching. It's always a good public movement, I feel. Shifting onto the other bum cheek. It's kind of like breakdancing, chilled breakdance movement. Oh yeah, that's good. Tend to find that one side is often tighter than the other, so maybe you already know that yourself, so you might just want to give a little bit of extra attention to your tight sides. Now we're going to flip it over, and an area for me that tends to carry a lot of tension is the quads, and I find that when I give myself some attention in this region, it really helps with so much stuff, particularly with anxiety and insomnia. So if you find that you have trouble sleeping, a recommended area of focus is releasing the quads, so doing some stretches and some opening in that area and just really letting the thighs release, the quads release. So my balls have come apart a bit. I'm going to bring them back together, place them on the floor, and I'll show you on the right one. Ease gently into this one, so you're going to gently lower down. Oh yeah. And then as you were before, just rolling like a maniac. That's pretty good. I'm going to try and stop the sound effects here because it's not that kind of video. Switching on to the other side. And as I said, it's a freestyle, so let this be your own exploration in Feel Good. Nice. And some of you, especially the cyclists, runners, you may want to give a bit of attention to IT bands, so I'll just show you here. You can roll along this area, outer hip all the way down the outer leg, maybe as far as the outside of the knee. So if you've got knee stuff, you may give that a little bit of attention as well, but do be gentle around the knees. Yeah, that's good. Then you can switch it up, and some of you might have foam rollers in the house. I didn't quite afford one, so hence this adaptable and very cost-effective mode of release with the tennis balls. Regretting not tying a knot in them now. You can roll it all the way up to the hamstrings. Just making sure that you're supporting your body weight. So using your core, so pulling everything together to help support you. And then we'll move on to arms and chest, which I find can be quite a neglected area of the body, especially if you do sit at a desk typing all day. So you can just use your hands here and just take a roll like you're kneading out gingerbread. Very festive. And I like to move all the way into the armpit, so just around the front of the chest, across the chest, over to the other side. So can be nice, especially in the colder months, to give some attention to this region, especially if we have been quite still, or maybe if we've been bracing ourselves against the cold, just to find that feeling of release and offering some circulation, some attention to that area. Okay, so now we're going to release one of the balls. This is quite a satisfying movement, I think. So let one of your balls out. And this one isn't so much for the faint-hearted, but if you know that you have a lot of jaw tension, maybe you clench your jaw in the night, or perhaps you're just carrying unconscious tension in that region, the tennis balls can be a really lovely way of offering release. So it's a similar movement. I like to do mine lying on the floor and then resting my head into the ball, and then just tracing a line around the jaw and just looking for any parts that I might release. Sometimes just holding the ball in one place and then pressing my head into it, just letting the weight release, can be a nice way to find space. So I'll just demo that now for you. You can also use a tissue over the tennis ball if you're not sure where it's been. So I'm just making sure that my body is in a comfortable position, my neck's not crunched up, and that my head feels comfortable. It's quite hard to talk in this one. So I'm just letting the weight of my head release into the ball, and then moving around the jaw region. Hanging out in any tender areas. Just taking your time to drop in. And I'm going to lift the head, switch over to the other side. Try not to let my ball escape. And especially when you're working with the jaw, try and relax the muscles on the inside of your mouth, soften the tongue, soften the lips. For so many of us, especially if we've had any dental work in the last year or so, or any kind of trauma in the upper body, or just carry stress and tension, especially around the shoulders and the neck, often because everything's connected. Often there's a lot of stuff going on with the jaw. Maybe we're unconsciously clenching our teeth in stressful situations, and that can accumulate over time. So it can be a nice idea to spend some time releasing that. Sorry, I just had a vision of what this looks like. quite funny. What the hell is she doing? Yeah. Jaw tension release. Brilliant. So when you feel you're done, push yourself up. We'll move up. Oh, that feels really good. And then, when you don't think about how you look, and then you watch it back and you're like, what? Anyway, finally, I'm going to do one of my favourite and quite popular one that I do in class because it's super quick and easy to do. Just a single tennis ball again, and we're going to focus on releasing the foot. So I'm just going to adjust you. Can you see the tennis ball? Yeah, okay. So this is a brilliant one for anyone to do any time of day. So heel is on the floor and you're just going to press the ball of the foot into the tennis ball. You can lean forward and just add some weight into that. And this is quite nice to play with because as you press down into the ball, I'm wearing socks now, but maybe you can still see. As you press the foot into the ball, there's generally a natural movement reaction that happens where your toes are kind of like a little claw, make a little T-Rex hand as you press down, which is quite nice just to see, how amazing the body is, how the body moves and how things connect and work together. So when you're done with that, you can start to roll the ball. So I like to trace a line along the inner edge of the foot. So I'm keeping my standing leg a bit bent just to support me, and I'm rolling the ball up and down the inside edge of my right foot. Nice. You can add as much or as little pressure as you like. Now I'm going to trace a line along the center line of the foot. Just trying to make sure you breathe as you do all of these movements. Again, so we're trying to encourage this idea of releasing and working with release, and using breath, especially with the exhale, is part of that release of tension. So now I'm rolling the outer edge of my right foot. And you'll know yourself where the sweet spots are, so feel free to improvise, to mix it up. Nice, and now I'm going to move on to the heel, so maybe practicing a little bit of balance as I press into the heel. Maybe I can lift up the other foot. Ooh, like a really strange stiletto. Nice. And then when you're done with that, take a moment just to stand and feel. Definitely for me, there's a massive difference between feet, so you can do the other foot on your own and get creative with it. Enjoy yourself and your balls. Thanks for practicing with me.